Now, I've covered homelessness a lot before, and it continues to be a huge problem. I think too many people tend to ignore the problem of homelessness, unless it is, of course, to further punish the homeless for being unlucky enough to be homeless. Now, whether through laws or through smashing homeless people's shopping carts, like that Democrat from Hawaii. So I'm actually happy to see that there's a new trend of some of our elected officials actually spending a night in a homeless shelter with actual homeless people, and getting to know their stories, trying to understand what it's like. I think Progress actually had a great piece where they write about a Democratic representative from California named Jackie Spear. Now, she stayed in the Maple Street shelter over in Redwood City. Now, I have to mention that she made sure that no one else needed that bed before she decided to stay in that shelter. So I just want to make that distinction. She didn't kick anybody out to the street in order to stay in the shelter. She made sure that that bed was not needed. So that's really good. Now, there's some misconceptions about homeless people that are pushed by idiots like John Stossel, for example. Some of these misconceptions are that these people are lazy grifters, looking for free beds and free handouts. Well, that's ridiculous, for one, and it's incredibly untrue. A lot of homeless people are actually veterans, or they're mentally ill, or just people that are down on their luck, or were affected by the financial crisis. And they also work. That's another misconception, is that, homeless people, they're lazy and don't work, and that's why they're homeless. No, they do work. Spear actually told the San Francisco Chronicle about one woman that she talked to in this recent shelter visit. She said, quote, "One woman was working at Safeway. Her spouse was working at Office Max. Their son was working at Jobs. And here they had to stay in a shelter to save up deposits to get an apartment." People are in a shelter. They're all working to save up to get out of the shelter. So no, people aren't lazy in the shelters, okay? They're actively trying to work or working to get out of that shelter. Here's another thing, a misconception about shelters, is that they're not free. A lot of them aren't. Many actually will charge people $200 to $300 per rent just to hold their stuff in the form of storage fees. Some even have incredibly draconian rules, like you have to be in at a certain time, or if you don't show up at 8 o'clock in the evening to stay in for the rest of the night, you're out of luck. You're going to get locked out. So like I said, there are some huge misconceptions by people and politicians about homeless people. Now I'm going to get to some more facts about homelessness here. Now the Bay Area especially, where Representative Spear actually has one of the highest rates of homelessness in the entire country. California has the highest amount of homeless people in the United States. Makes sense because it's huge, right? And last year, get this, 7 homeless people froze to death in California during a cold snap. 7 people froze to death. Can you imagine being that person, having nowhere to go, and freezing to death? Ugh. You don't even want to think about it. That's a major problem. Now, around the nation here, over 6,000 people were homeless on any given night in 2013. And that's of January 2013. More than a third of these people were actually out in the streets, what they call unsheltered. They were sleeping under bridges or in their cars or park benches, which have you. That's 35% of the entire homeless population, and that's according to the annual homeless assessment report to Congress. Now, nationally, 12% of all homeless adults are actually veterans. I mentioned a lot of people are veterans, right? California, of course, has the largest number of homeless and homeless vets. In fact, Representative Spear had told that to the Chronicle. Her experience, she said, quote, "I met another man who was my age and had been in real estate for 30 years in the East Bay. He was a veteran. There were a lot of veterans here. Veterans. Homeless veterans. People who serve our country. Homeless. It's a shame. It's a national disgrace that should happen. Now, it's not just Jackie Spear that has stayed in homeless shelters. Republican gubernatorial candidate Neil Kashkari, he also stayed in a shelter. In Oakland, nonetheless. A Republican gubernatorial candidate. Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat from Connecticut, also stayed in a shelter. And I think that this is something that a lot of our elected officials should do. Spear also did the food stamp budget. Some other politicians have also done the food stamp budget, which I think is great. I think that should also be a requirement for office. Marcia Fudge, I believe she also did the food stamp challenge. Like I said, I think both of these things should be a requirement to hold public office. You need to be able to empathize with those people whose lives yet you're going to affect with your policies. And I'm not the only one who thinks so. Representative Spear said, quote, "Every member of Congress should be required to do what I did. It would help us appreciate who we are talking about. We rattle off numbers, but it doesn't speak about the people themselves." And that's how you build empathy. See, what people don't understand, especially on the Republican side, but it exists on the Democratic side too, so to be fair, is how certain people live. They don't know how people live. Because Congress itself is cut off from the people. And did you know that half of Congress is also millionaires? Of course they're cut off from the people. And in order to really understand how regular people live, it actually helps. It helps to walk a mile in their shoes. Hey, if you enjoyed this clip, make sure to like and leave a comment below, or even share. Sharing is caring. If you want to see more TYT Nation videos, go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/TYT Nation. Thank you for watching.